OtraXFavor. This is one more, please. Welcome to Otra, por favor. Arriba la América.
I fucked it up. All right.
So.
Can you curse on this thing too?
Sure.
Oh yeah, you can cuss. Yeah. You can cuss.
Oh, he beeped me.
Every time we talk, we're like, meek.
Yeah.
And you can curse.
You can cuss. You can call someone out if you want.
It's been a long Wednesday.
It's
already.
been a long weekend.
Feel free to curse.
However, in the studio today, I am honored to have J Muzacz. A little context of why we invited him is he's worked on several projects, and there's one that is pretty dear to our heart and reflects pretty much our Murga, our heartbeat of Austin. It was a mural that's on the new metro station, the McKalla Station, and a lot of our friends are actually portrayed in that mural. So I'm always happy for my friends when they get exposure or whatnot. So this is pretty cool.
He's getting emotional.
A little emotional. And and then Rigo helped you from the beginning. I think he helped you set up with the project. And you know what? After everything's done, let's have a conversation with Jay. So Jay, thank you for coming here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, we want to get to know you a little more, or have everyone know you a little more, and document too, just a moment in time at McKalla Place. So thanks for all the work.
Yeah,
and for coming.
Thank you for the work. Thank you for the book, or ATX Urban Art. I think that one's still available at us, Something Cool Studios.
I think we might be sold out, man. I'm holding a few copies for a rainy day, but you might have to find me if you want a copy.
There you go. Thank you, man.
Volume 2.
Yeah, volume 2 jumping soon.
Version 2.
The book has a lot of art from actually, the cool thing is has art from a lot of people that we know. And we always want to support our friends, like Luis is the head of Something Cool Studios. So having that, it's great. He's been here in the past, along with Joe Corral. And also thank you for the shirt that Rigo's wearing.
Yeah. Reppin'.
Sheesh.
Limited edition, the green and black. Yeah.
And I'm wearing the cap. It's actually, with caps like this, sometimes they're shorter on the head because I have a big ass head. So it's actually, it fits well, like and it can cover me. So I'm gonna. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna use it on Saturday at the game.
Nice.
Summer's coming up. We need to take care of your head.
Take care of the head, right? Yeah, nice. Yeah, man. Take care of the bald head. Sin albur. So, before I go into like Jay's, we got to travel to Houston, Austin FC won, and that was early birthday present for Rigo.
Yeah.
Sorry I couldn't make it, man.
Getting the second birthday present this weekend against LA Galaxy. So
get it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Keep going.
Oh hell yeah.
Keep celebrating.
It was pretty cool, man. It was a pretty close game, and then last minute shot from Mr. Rigoni. We only had one opportunity compared to Houston having several of them. Mm-hmm. So the fact that one opportunity, Rigoni assist on the assist from CJ, who's a kid that's been wanting a chance. It's helpful. And I think a lot of in the past we've had away games where it doesn't go well, and then the return trip, it's always a bad hangover.
Yeah, it's a little more quiet.
We had some never give up attitude in there, so good job from the guys. Just keep trying to go for a goal, and the 85th minute, and getting it. It was a celebration, but us, we sing full 90, so it was a good turnout. I think it was like 150 people, so
yeah.
We get to come back all happy. So,
and in between when we talk, I'm actually there's two I've released. So I was doing interviews with the players after the game. There's two interviews that I'm holding. I'm actually gonna release them as part of the intro at the beginning of this episode. And they pretty much, my goal for those was to ask the players, hey, what do you want to say to the fans that traveled away? 150 of them, you know, what is something you want to say? And then you guys checked it out. Had a lot of good things to say. Appreciate it for everybody that traveled. But enough of Austin FC. The main star, the main guy in this episode is Jay. Jay, where are you originally from, and how did your upbringings forge the person you are today?
Well, interestingly enough, I'm from Houston.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I was raised in a suburb called A-Leaf. It's a little ghetto. I was actually a minority in that particular neighborhood. So most of my friends growing up were Asian of, you know, second and third generation descent.
Okay.
Had a lot of Filipino, Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese friends. My first friends in kindergarten, I remember, were my neighbors in the apartment, two little Japanese homies. So I've always kind of been, you know, they call me the egg, you know, white on the outside, yellow on the inside. But that was kind of like my.
Did they call me the brown egg?
Yeah.
My wife is Asian, so.
Yeah, me too. My wife Yuki, she's from.
You also got the yellow fever.
So yeah, it's just for natural, you know. And it wasn't until I moved to Austin and went to UT when I was 18 to go to college that I actually like had more white friends, to be quite honest. So I've always felt very comfortable in that diverse setting. So I think that upbringing kind of, you know, opened my eyes to a lot of different cultures. You know, I love pho. It's my soul food. We would go, you know, skip out on lunch in high school and go get banh mi, you know, around the corner. So I think that really planted a seed that I would later go on and like travel around the world and stuff like that. But I think also growing up in a single parent household was very formative for me. My father passed when I was 9. And my mother, you know, she would work late. She would work till 9, 10 o'clock at night sometimes. My sister had already moved away to college. She was 8 years older. So by the time I was 10, I was pretty much like a latchkey kid, right? Like I'm at home, I'm playing ball out in the street or whatever. But as soon as I turned like 12, 13, I got some friends like, you know, in junior high, and I can go hang in my friend's house that had more, maybe like a more stable home or whatnot. I would do that. So my peer group from the time I was 12, 13 really became my family. So, you know, I didn't have that like, you know, standard family, you know, that you have at home. So, I think that was very formative for sure. Like it put a lot of responsibility on me to make the best out of a situation. And I found art that really let me create my own reality. One that maybe I was like struggling with. The, you know, trauma of my father passing or, you know, problems at home, that when I got a pen and paper and I could create whatever I want on that blank page, it was an escape, but it's also like I had a power there, right? It's empowering. So early on, even in art class in junior high, like I would finish my project and on the back side of the paper, I would write graffiti letters. Because I don't remember my first experience with graffiti, but I know sometime when I was young, it's like it struck me as I was like looking out the car window or whatever, and I saw that piece and I'm like, man, it's not supposed to be there. What's that about? It's got some energy to it, you know. I was always drawn to it, so I started to sketch letters, you know, back in junior high, picked up a can in high school, and the rest is history. So we can
from there. A-Leaf, which part of Houston is that from?
Southwest Houston.
Southwest Houston.
Yeah.
So how, for example, that part of Houston it's popping, you know, now.
Yeah.
And I used to work around the area in 2015, and it still felt sort of old school, you know, like a lot of like mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
But then little by little, it started getting more hip as the younger generation started growing up.
Yeah.
So now it's, you know, it's always been busy, but now it's changed in a good way.
Everything moves and shifts and change, you know. I haven't been back to A-Leaf in some years now. I got some friends in Houston, but they all moved out of the hood. Okay. So yeah.
It's getting a little bit, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But it also goes with, I think, with sometimes just opportunities people get to help fix a community. I think that's where you can probably see it there, especially when it comes to the Asian community and in the A-Leaf Southwest Houston area. And so you grew up, and then as you were working with art and creating something, um, were you first originally drawn, like saying when you went to school, you were first drawn to do art, or were you studying something else?
Yeah, art's always been like a passion. Even like in high school, I was in the art club. I excelled at art. I think I won a rodeo contest for a drawing of a pig one year. Like I was in advanced art my senior year in high school. But something happened, obviously, you know, when you go to college and your parents, well, your mom, you know, my mom was never like, oh, yeah, go be an artist. You know, if you're going to go pay to go to college, then get a degree like engineering or business or something where, you know, you can make money when you come out. So it was never necessarily encouraged as a career. And it really took me a lot of years to figure out how to make art a career. I'm still figuring it out little by little. But I went to school because that's what you do, you know, and I got into UT. I had decent grades, so got into UT. I really just loved Austin as a city. I had visited when I was a teenager, and I was like, man, the city's dope. They got the Greenbelt. They got downtown. Actually saw my first space street art spray painting when I was like 16. I came up here, and this dude, Kerry Huckabee, was doing it on 6th Street. And I would later apprentice with him when I was like 19 or 20. So I came up, you know, went to UT, first 2 years, just like knocking out my basics, whatever. Come time to find, you know, a major, I was like, I don't even know, you know, I don't know what I want to do still. Like, I just had sociology classes that I dug the professor, and I liked studying about, like, you know, world cultures and different religions and deviance in society and all these kind of interesting topics. There was a class on blues roots music, and that was sociology. So I was like, I like sociology. Let me go ahead and major in it. And I could knock it out in 3 years too. So the fact that I could get out of there as quick as I could, actually took my leftover student loans and bought a one-way ticket to Europe to go backpacking. And I just like ran my bank to zero over there, you know, just like sleeping on couches and doing random odd jobs and living out of a backpack for 6 months. But that trip kind of opened my eyes to like a lot of alternative lifestyles where people would like live off the grid and grow food and tend animals and things that I never saw in A-Leaf, you know. So it was a big awakening, and it kind of forged a lot of what I still hold dear in my heart, is like taking care of the planet, having tighter communities where people work together and take care of one another. You know, so like that experience, those 6 months backpacking, I came back and I was like, man, I want to live in a co-op. I'm going to plant a garden in the front yard. I'm going to do art. I'm going to learn to cook vegetarian meals. I'm going to do all these things, you know. And it's kind of been just a winding path ever since. Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Oh no, I'm just listening. Man. This is pretty interesting insight, because like for some of us, like, well, Rich is from Houston too. I grew up in South Texas, like the Valley area, and just coming to Austin is some of our escapes too, right? So like obviously there's so many places we can all go and learn from them, right? But nowadays it's just hard to have that time to be able to do it. So that's really important and really formative to be able to see that. And it's kind of cool that you mentioned that you saw that artist painting here in Austin, and you kind of it stuck to you, right?
Yeah, I was mesmerized. I was like, man, I want to learn how to do that.
How did you go back and like say like, hey man, I know you?
Yeah. I mean, granted, this was before YouTube. Okay, this is a while ago.
You really had to stalk somebody.
I just watch him, you know, and then like go back at home and try it out. Like I would just study. I was like, oh, he's putting black over the color, and then he reduces it. He takes it off a newspaper, and then he puts the Frisbee down. Okay. So, like, I did very rudimentary, like, really bad, shitty paintings for a while. And at one point when I came back and he was still down there doing it, I took him one of my paintings. I was like, hey, man, what do you think? Can I work with you or whatever? Can I help you out? He's like, nah, man. I was like, get out of here, kid. You know, I was like, so I kind of went back. I would watch him, you know, kind of from the back of the crowd. He would get a crowd of 50 people on a Friday night, you know. Yeah. I watched from the back, and I'll pick up some more tips. And I was living off of Riverside at the time, and I was just practicing on my little patio there, getting paint all over the patio, and I never got that deposit back. But finally got one that was decent. I took it down there, and he's like, oh, okay, I kind of remember you, you know. So he's like, once you come out on the weekends, you could be my, you know, you can assist me, right? So when he takes a break.
Paint can.
Yeah, pass me the paint can and keep the riffraff out. You know, some drunk dude starts falling on me, make sure, you know. So I just kind of like held the crowd. I just helped out. And then he started to kind of let me like, hey, man, I'm going to take a break for 10 minutes, you know, go grab a bite or whatever, go ahead and paint. Yeah. So he let me kind of tap in. And I was like, oh, it's now okay. So I started to do that. And before you know, we're making paintings in 5-10 minutes. And I was selling for $25, right? So there was one night I made like $300-400, just, you know. And he was making way more than that. Like, he was doing really well for himself. And I was like, but that was when I first sold art, right? Like, I had been making art for years, and it was just in school or whatever for fun. Selling art, I was like, okay, there's something to it, right? There's commerce here. But I quickly got kind of bored with the medium, the size, the scale of it. I wanted to do things bigger. I wanted to paint, whole walls, and so long story short, we had a little bit of a falling out. There was one night when he wanted to do a competition. He's like, all right, I'm gonna do one, you're gonna do one, and then we're gonna ask the crowd who wins, whoever cheers louder. And we're gonna burn the loser's painting, So I did a painting. I was like, yeah, and then he did a painting. We're both doing it super fast, feeling the energy, 4 minutes or whatever. And then I swear to God, like, the crowd cheered louder for me. But he's like, nah, man, and he picked mine up and he burned it, and then he fired me. I was like,
He was asking for it.
Yeah. So that was kind of the end of that journey. But
he was asking for it, but you were asking for a listen to it.
Yeah, it was a good while it lasted. But so I went back and hit the streets. I started knocking on doors, and like, there's a convenience store or something that had a shitty looking wall. I'd be like, hey, can I paint your wall for $200? Cost of the paint or whatever. Yeah. And I just really started building my portfolio like that, like doing a lot of work for free. And before you know it, people start calling you, put your little email on little signature. Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool you mentioned, because that jump from like making it for free to like I think that's where a lot of people a lot of artists probably want to sell their paints, right? But it's like, how do you monetize that, and how do you get to that point where, because a lot of people, it's fun, right? Until it's like, oh, now I need it to be sustainable. And that's like that thin line of like jumping into making money out of it. And it's really hard to understand it.
Yeah.
It's like, say, when you have a job, right? Like, say you're applying for a traditional 9-to-5 job. Sometimes your resume, and a couple of years of experience can get you a job. And as you go, you get promoted. But with art, you have to chase it, and sometimes like your work it speaks for yourself. Nothing else. Is literally you and your work and your imagination and what the client wants. So as you go and you start growing on that, like, that's when you have to balance, what's important, charging people or creating what I want to create, or a lot of the times accommodating to what they want and what you think it should be.
It's always a balance.
Yeah.
And if you want to make a living at it, you got to compromise. I mean, you're gonna have to do, in my experience, commercial murals. So murals for restaurants or businesses or people's houses or whatever. And you're always doing work for the person in that sense, for the people. So a lot of those are public walls, and it's commerce based. So it's like, okay, you're promoting that restaurant or that business, but you got to kind of figure out how to negotiate and kind of work your aesthetic in or work your ideas in some way where you're not completely bending over and just doing their logo, or like they're handing you a design and you just recreate it, but to have some creative input. So over the years, I guess I just got kind of good at that and listening to the client. It's no different than the public art I'm doing now. Like the CapMetro piece is like listening to the community,
listening to what he was telling you.
Yeah.
not that much.
He's like, no comment.
But I look at it, in a sense, the community is the client. Yeah. And so, it's not as clear cut. It's not as black and white. But to really listen and engage and like do my diligence to like research and make sure that piece is going to be a good fit for the site, that's kind of like what it evolved into. And there's nothing wrong with doing art for yourself and doing it for free and keeping it pure. Like I really admire a lot of people who are like studio painters or artists, and they make what they want when they want on their own terms. And a lot of that, doesn't need to be public facing. There's a lot of really good narrative work that shows up in galleries and museums or just on somebody's house that, it's narrative piece and it's what the artist want to express. And people can relate to it and respond to it. But with public art, you really have a responsibility because everybody's going to see that. Yeah. And, people are going to interact with it. And you're not going to please 100% of the people all the time. But, you kind of toe that line, So it's the complete opposite of like graffiti, where you just
Mm-hmm.
go and paint your name or paint whatever you want, no questions asked. And that's confronting like private property and, you know, the law, right?
Yeah.
Which again is a lot of gray area. But then when you're doing it for work, it's like, well, you're beholden to who's writing the check. So it's a balance, you know, and I've done a few jobs I wasn't really proud of at the end of it,
Yeah.
and just in aesthetically or otherwise. But for the most part, even commissions for like a business or whatever, like I'm happy I did it. Like it got me painting all day, which I love to paint. You know, I love to create art, and so it got me painting regardless of what the subject matter is. I'm holding a brush, I'm holding a spray can. You know, nowadays I'm placing tiles. I love doing that. I love the act of creating. It puts me in like a meditative state, and it's just a pleasant way to pass the time. So the more I could create those opportunities, you know, regardless of what the scenario is, like I'm cool. But then over time, you know, you develop your aesthetic, your process, very specific niche, so that, you know, no matter what you're painting, it has you in it.
Yeah.
You know, it has these people say, oh, that's so and so's piece, or that's Jay's piece. You know, just by looking at the style. And the tricky thing for me was I saw a lot of people in street art and graffiti doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
Like the brand. It's basically like, even some artists that I really admire, Shepard Fairey, who's got the 12-story mural on the Line Hotel. He painted with Sandra Chevier, who Luis actually helped on.
Yeah.
You know, Shepard Fairey is an icon of our day. And you know, if you see that giant logo, that's him,
That's
right?
him, yeah.
So, and he put that tens of thousands of stickers and posters all over the world. But that also pigeonholes you, because it's like you have to do that thing, or people want that thing from you. And he's done a good job to evolve that and bring social justice, you know, issues into his work and everything, and collaborate with other artists. And so I dig that. Like it evolved, right? I just didn't want to pigeonhole myself and have to keep doing the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it changing and moving. I'm going to do subject matter that's not the norm, you know. And I just really want to make work that's like a celebration, like people, nature, you know, whatever it might be. I want to be like a positive inspiration, you know.
So at the moment, like, say, what can be your mission and vision as the artist, as an artist?
Oh man, well, it's changed. I mean, it evolves. It continually changes and evolves. I mean, personally, and then like as the business side of things, like the Mosaic Workshop, you know, or the ATX Urban Art Book, you know, that brand, like those are kind of like different angles. They're all kind of sides of the coin, right? And they're all parts of my practice. But me personally, like the mission has kind of grown to not just making work that, you know, I'm stoked to make, but creating opportunities for others, creating opportunities for other artists to either assist or collaborate on, creating opportunities for the community to come in and learn something, to work together, to like take back their public space, you know. I think that's really empowering when people can, you know, put their physical hand into the lived environment. You know, a lot of people don't have that opportunity in their daily life to even say, like, I laid that one tile or I painted that one stroke. It's kind of something cool that they can look back on and, you know, hopefully take pride in over time. 'Cause I get to do it every day, but, you know, to create opportunities for others to do that, you know, it's kind of has become the goal, you know. And tandem to like art, I've always been like a kind of a teacher.
Yeah.
I taught overseas. I taught English. I taught after school art programs all over the city of Austin. I've been a mural mentor at the Mexican American Cultural Center. So doing all those things, you know, I really found a passion and a calling for that and sharing what I love. So I might be painting and doing murals 5 days a week, and then the other 2 I'm going to be mentoring at the community center or whatever. And so in recent years, the Mosaic Workshop kind of became that. It brought all those worlds together. It brought the recycling and the caring for the environment as we're repurposing material. It brought the education element, because now I'm getting to teach and share the techniques and process that, you know, that I've learned. And we're getting to make these big, ambitious murals, you know. So it's like all the things.
Out of Mosaic?
Yeah. And that's, recently out of Mosaics, glass tile, reclaimed materials. You know, Mosaics especially, like, it's inclusive because a lot of people can do the fun, the art part, but it's also very like visceral and like physical, because like when you're out doing the install, there's like it's like heavy thin set mortar that you're, you know, troweling up, and it's messy grout and it's dirty and it's stressful and it's like, it's hard work. And so like that mixed with the finesse of the art, you know, like it's a really cool juxtaposition. It lets me like be refined and focused on one day and then like very like on another day, you know? So yeah, I don't know. It's really rewarding.
Yeah. Do you I want to go back to one of the points that we had, because you mentioned just traveling and going like with, like tell us a little bit about your experience being in Japan too, because you had some work over there too, and I saw a little bit about your books too. So if you want to tell us that other journey that maybe some don't know, like ATX Urban Art.
Art. It definitely came out of that.
You have some work as a writer as well, and so if you want to tell us a little bit about where you've been and how that inspired you. I think it was a few years too, right?
Yeah, the Japan story needs a whole nother podcast. It was a great time. Yeah, no, I was there for 3 years. I went over to teach English initially. I met my beautiful wife Yuki there. She was actually my language teacher. She was teaching me Japanese, and
that's usually how it works. Right? My sister married a Korean.
Yeah,
and
she was over there.
She was kind of teaching him online, and then he came over, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Never left.
He was getting his private lessons.
Yeah.
Teaching by day, I found that teaching English at the level I was teaching elementary and junior high, it was honestly really easy work. I was teaching kind of in tandem with a Japanese instructor, so I'm there kind of like doing the pronunciation practice, playing games, having fun, right? So I had a lot of free time, and I was living in a small fishing village, which is where the English program placed me. So like literally 8 o'clock, this town shuts down. So every night I got in the habit of just drawing pictures or drawing sketches of pictures or, you know, something I had learned or seen that day. And I first made some postcards to hand out one year at New Year's. And then I just kind of kept on this drawing regimen of drawing a picture every day. And a few months in, I had stacks of sketchbooks. You know, people started asking, what are you going to do with it? That was also the year in March that the tsunami and earthquake happened there. And so I kind of kept consistent. I kept working. I was drawing through that. I was chronicling, you know, some of that hard time. And then like midway through the year, I was like, man, what if I did like a fundraiser? And because I was like, how do I also help? And I'm like teaching, you know, I got to keep my teaching job, but I want to support this in some way, the rebuilding effort. So started to think like, okay, maybe I'll put together a book. I had done like zines and stuff back in like high school and college, but nothing of the scale of this. Like ended up being a 400-page book with 365 drawings, with all captions translated into Japanese and English. It was a big undertaking. So that whole year, but giving myself that goal of like, all right, I'm going to write a book now. I had to start thinking in terms of like, I need to make cool chapters. What are the chapters going to be? Let me beef them up. I had to start assembling the team of like, hey, can you help me translate this if I want to do it in Japanese? I had to reach out to my friend from high school, Christina, who was a badass designer. And I was like, can you design this for me? You know, like, and it was all on a shoestring because I didn't have any money as English teacher. You don't make a lot. That's also where I found crowdsourcing or like crowdfunding, basically like Kickstarter, where people can support kind of like basically a pre-sale of the book. And so I had all these, you know, pictures, and I had the book developing.
Was that big at that time, like the crowdfunding, or it was like the beginning of
Kickstarter was around. I think it was early on though. I used a platform called Indiegogo. It's actually the same one that 10 years later I used to make ATX Urban Art, and that's why I say it kind of laid the foundation because it taught me about self-publishing. I had to be a writer as well as an artist. And and
collaborating,
and it's a huge team effort.
Translators,
it's not one person,
creatives.
From when you started crowdsourcing through Indiegogo, was there like how was the reception for people? Did you see a lot of traction coming in, a lot of volume, or was it something that it just built over time?
Yeah, the Japan one, it was mostly honestly like my network. That was also early on. Like, we had blogs. I think we had like Zanga at the time, or I forget what blog it was. It was like I don't know what it was. I didn't even have Instagram back then. Yeah. You know, it was online. It was kind of through emails, I guess it was on Facebook. and then you're selling to friends, family, and then it, kind of jump off from there. They share it out and other people get wind of it. But it was enough to like do a print run. I did a few hundred copies and, got them shipped out. The ATX Urban Art, though, because we had like 120 featured artists and a book that was well overdue for the city, there was a lot of traction. Yeah. So we actually like doubled the goal that we had set. It was like a minimum. We doubled that. So, we were able to do a print run twice as big. And just and do it right, like put all 700 pages in there, full color. Like it's an encyclopedia.
Had to make it more than 400 pages, right?
Yeah, you got to outdo the project before,
It's like a book, right? I mean, it's like say we have so much electronic files. You could probably gotten, designers to build the 700 page file PDF, sell it to people, but just having that in hand. Just flipping through it. I don't know.
People always say, "Oh, books are dead." Nobody buys books anymore. I was like, but a book like that, people want, because it is a time capsule, and it is something that, because we're on the screen and our phone so much, like you see a post, you forget it in 5 minutes. You see it on online or whatever. This is like going back 50 years. So you're able to kind of tap into that and bring the old shoebox photos and put it in this volume. And there's just a value to having something tactile sitting on your table you could flip through, at your leisure, something you could show people. And it's validation for a lot of artists too. Like a lot of the early graffiti artists, especially, who I got to know really well, largely through this, interviewing and going to their house and looking through their photos and everything, is like, they've been underground, and graffiti is, to a degree, is still like an underground art form. It's kind of become mainstream in recent years, commodified and whatnot, but like a lot of these guys never got their shine, and so now to be in this book like forever, it's like that book is not going to change. It's not going to go anywhere. I don't see anybody making a book like it.
Yeah, and then you can always in the future add another run, and
we could do a second revised second edition. But I like that it is a time capsule. There's a lot of contemporary artists too, like working right now, but we kind of mined and went back as far as we could and found the OGs of graffiti and some of the first muralists and kind of the people that set the groundwork for what Austin is and the Austin we know and love today.
If you don't mind me asking, because a lot of people want to, like, let's say, photographers. There's someone that probably would think about creating, an album, small book. I don't know if it would be 700 pages, but you can give me a ball number on the cost, of the book and production, like afterwards, like, but what is the cost per book?
It depends on the print run.
Okay.
Like how many you do, obviously color, black and white, page quality, hardcover, softcover. There's a lot of variables. I believe this ended up being like $28 per copy just to produce. This is before getting it shipped, and so a lot goes into it. And that was like after almost 2 years of myself, Justin and Zoe, who's like our core team, myself and the photographer and 2 designers, that's like putting full-time work into it for me for nothing, I was paying them as designers, but like I'm doing a labor of love, man, full disclosure, I don't even know if I broke even, right? Like it's just, but it's like, I'm glad it's out there, and I'm glad it's out there. I'm glad we got it made, and we got into a lot of hands of people that care about the culture and who appreciate, the artist and the artistry in the book. But yeah, man, it was a big undertaking. Yeah.
I'm glad, man. Thank you for bringing it. It's an honor having that book in the studio.
Totally.
Awesome piece, man.
Now, looking at, like, let's say you're as a full-time artist, you're balancing, you already balanced the business part and the creative part. From the work that you've done, which in recent years, or one that you remember, like, this is very fun to me because this is where everything started for me, or this is one where it took you to another level?
Oh man, I feel like I'm in that really, I'm in the zone, man. I'm in the creative flow where, like, I feel like every last project is that. Like I keep kind of like one up in the project before, and like, oh man, that was my favorite, but man, now this one I just did, dang, like it feels really good, it hits. So, the last few years, and also since kind of I cut out, I was teaching part-time for a while, and I cut that out a few years ago, and I really went full-time artist, And that means wearing a lot of hats. Like you said, it's like people just think you show up in the studio all day and paint, and somebody's going to buy your paintings for $1 million and you're going to be great. Yeah. It's like, nah, that's not the reality. The reality is you're hustling, you're doing different things. Yeah. Like for me, the variation or the diversification of the product and service that I offer is how I'm staying afloat. One year I'm doing a book, I'm alongside painting murals. So like Rigo said, like now I got to be a writer, you know. I'm teaching at the workshop. I'm creating this little small business around the medium that I love. It's Mosaic. But I still do things that I'm passionate about. Like, I guess it was 2 years ago, I went up to Flint, Michigan. And for those that aren't familiar with Flint, you know, it's a city kind of got hit hard by the auto industry leaving. Also got hit hard by the whole water crisis. So it's a town that's had rough times, right? There's a lot of blight. There's a lot of abandoned buildings, burnouts. So going up there and meeting Joe, who runs the Flint Public Art Project, he invites artists to paint huge, you know, monumental murals, colorful murals in parts of town that really need it. Just brighten the day up a little bit. So I've been going up there like every summer for the last few years, and I got the biggest wall, I think, of my career. It was like a 4,000 square foot wall. I mean, it was an old grocery store, like 25 feet tall by like almost 200 feet wide. Yeah. Massive, you know, and he showed me, I was like, you want to paint that? I was like, okay, sure. And mind you, this is not like a commission rate. This is not public art with decent budgets. This is going up there for like $500, right? Painting all week, busting my ass harder than I've ever painted, and just to do a beautiful piece that I want to paint. So, but I got to go. I wanted to highlight the community gardens, and so I went around and met some urban farmers. I met like some local chef. I met people who are there planting and picking their local food and staying healthy despite the hard circumstances of the city. And so highlighting that, it was, again, dear to my heart. I'm a gardener. I love, you know, I've been in landscaping, and I, you know, profess like healthy eating habits and, you know, wellness and everything. So to highlight that side of the city was, you know, something I was on board with. And so it was a very vibrant mural, like huge flowers and vegetables and fruits and people, very colorful, all spray paint, like using all fat caps up on a scissor lift for a week, working really long hours. I had a lot of homies helping me to like get some outlines up and do a little bit of fill in. So I definitely had some help. That's good. But, you know, that was like, it was a landmark piece because it's the biggest one yet, but it's also like, I felt like I was really in my flow where I'm like really getting into my process. I'm kind of loose with it at points, but it renders, you know, almost like a digital collage. You know, that's kind of the style I've been working up to. And then to have, you know, just a year later, getting this commission with CapMetro and like the biggest official public art of my career in terms of scale for Mosaic, you know, also in terms of budget and just in terms of the scope and pure, you know, status of it being right there next to the stadium and on a permanent train, you know, rail station. Like that's huge, you know, like that's what we've been working for 20 years. So like those two really for me fresh in mind are like hands down the ones that I'm like, you know, when I'm able to reflect on all the hard work and then, you know, CapMetro was a year and a half in the making and went through a lot of challenges and overcame hurdles and, you know, it's not all easy. But we also had a lot of fun. We brought a lot of people together and, you know, I think we're creating a piece for the community that will really resonate and live on and change and kind of evolve over time as people engage with it over the years. So, you know, there's no perfect art piece. There's never been a piece I was like, oh man, that's it. I'm 100% done. Yeah. But like you get it as good as you can. You put your all into it. And I think the passion and energy and love that the artist conveys onto that wall, into that space is then reflected onto the people that view it. And so that's the most I can hope with those pieces is that people respond in that way, that they could feel that love and the energy that I commit to it, you know. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Because we had a question in there that was we were gonna kind of tear you apart a little bit, ask you
more.
More. Yeah, no, but just like what you liked the more between like solo artwork and community artwork.
You probably heard it. Like, I'm not the type of artist that's just like, let me go in my white wall studio and make whatever I want to make today. Yeah. Like, I would, in that bubble, I would burst real quickly. I'm inspired by the people and places and nature and experiences, and without that, like, there's no art to make, you know.
And not just in that way, but like you said, like making, going out and painting a wall on your own versus making a mosaic with hundreds of people, right? Like,
unmatched, man.
But it seems like you ride those waves of experiences that just give you that inspiration into going into the next one.
Yeah.
And changing the media, like, the medium fast, right?
Well, it took 7 years to get to the developing where I got the process dialed in enough to do it that way. But that's what I was saying about, like, every last project. Like, I learned something. I try something different. You know, I kind of pushed the previous limit. And so that's the only reason I was even able to attempt a project like CapMetro with 130,000 glass tiles and doing portraiture in glass mosaic pixel art, like one of the most challenging, you know, subject matters in terms of imagery. I mean, it's because of all that development, you know, of like figuring out the process, dialing it in, honing it, you know, and also having a team, having people like Zoe and Carmen and Katie, you know, who can help out at those busy work days, and the install team, you know, that have been with me on almost every project since I started in 2018 doing mosaics. Like, you need all those people, you need those relationships. I mean, people like yourself to actually bring all the community together to come into the studio and, you know, to rally the photographers to like get their best images together so I can even come up with the design. Like, there's so many steps that people that don't see maybe in that process. That I think is really that's the most rewarding part for me, because it's like I feel like we're putting a lot of people on and we're putting a lot of people together. We're giving people responsibility, things that they're passionate about, and we're all contributing to something bigger than any one of ourselves.
And you know? And empowering people, especially with the mosaic, like we said, the TIFO, we live it too. Like, you give someone a piece of something and it's like, make it. Like, you can make it.
Yeah.
And then they get
rise to the challenge
to see and enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I, you know, going into that when it's with people, right? I don't know how it would be for someone to work, you know, by themselves, do a lot of solo stuff. But I think with and a lot of it is probably, you know, maybe ideas that they have in their mind, and then or emotions they want to express in a portrait or photo. But whenever you think of doing in the community part, it's not just, you know, the feeling of you, but the feeling of the whole environment around it. How you're talking about Flint, and you got everyone involved, and then here, you know, it's our goal is how can we make the legend grow. This is one way. Yeah, the soccer aspect is important, but also the community part is important too.
Yeah.
And then not just that, but stuff like the mural that's gonna be there for a while, you know, like that's something that, you know, forever and then bringing, like I say, that how it was put in, not just with you, but it's also like your team and people that have captured those moments in the stadium for the photographers. So it has like, you're the designer of it, and you, J Muzacz, is, you know. But then there's a whole group of people behind it that helped you get there. Yeah. And then CapMetro, of course, you know, that put the money.
Yeah, that's important too. Yeah, CapMetro was really supportive the whole way, and, you know, literally had meetings with the construction team every month, sometimes twice a month, to make sure like the lighting was installed and make sure the walls finishes right and get the framing on point and get the dimensions dialed in. It's just like so many of the details are necessary to make a flawless installation like that. But yeah, I really look at every opportunity. I was kind of talking about it before, is like not just a way for me as an artist to shine, but like how can I lift the maximum number of people up through this project? Yeah. And that's why I was like, not only the models and their families and friends that showed up, the photographers who captured those images, the behind the scenes people that we could, you know, shine a light on. And dozens of people had physical hand in like making the design and installing it, and then hundreds of people had a hand in placing the tiles, you know. And even beyond that, it's like the people who can come and celebrate it. Like, it was so cool seeing all the CapMetro team and staff come out to celebrate Coco and Ernie, who are right there alongside all the La Murga members. And, you know, it's just like bringing those worlds together, and showing that like everyday people are really awesome. We're like, there's everyday heroes out there, you know, amongst us, and hopefully it helps people see, you know, the service workers and the musicians and all the people as, you know, as the awesome superstars they are, you know.
Yeah, and I think we'll go back into the Mosaic topic a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of connect a lot of what you said and ask you if you think it's because of this city, because you're in Austin. Because from what I get is the way your inspiration and the way your workflow works is because of connecting so many people through it. Do you think that's part of being in Austin as an artist?
Definitely.
And like for other artists who know that, right? Like collaborate, come together and create things, right? Because sometimes we block ourselves off from like being creative and being like, oh, I'm trying to be creative on my own, but there's so many other people you can be creative with.
Yeah, definitely an Austin thing. I mean, I got friends in Houston, LA, artists in New York. There's a lot of cities that are more, you know, isolated, solitary type of workflow, that there's maybe more of a competitive mindset as opposed to collaborative. And I'm just, not only with art, with music, with gardening, with everything in Austin, I feel like it's more of like an inclusive, collaborative type of space. And I think it's all of us that contribute to that, right? It's all the residents of the city that are constantly showing up and doing silly events like Eeyore's birthday party, or, you know, having a parade down the street, and, you know, to celebrate queso, or like, you know, or like people getting together around the sport that they love and playing music and making songs and chants that are like funny and responded to the culture of Austin, you know, if Daniel Johnston references and all the rest, you know, like it's cool that people kind of have a love for the city and each other and are able to creatively gather and do things around sport, music, art, food, theater, you name it, you know.
And that they don't want to do it alone too.
And they don't want to do it alone,
I just joined, like I met some like new friends, like photography friends, and like they added me to like a photo group, and all of a sudden like they're trying to do photo walks kind of thing, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, welcome, and it's like that those communities, it's like, oh, this is interesting, right? Like they all want to get together and go maybe shoot the same photo in a photo walk, but everybody's different perspective, and it's been cool to kind of find it in other ways, and hearing you say it, it kind of gives that vibe and connects that. Because I met them like at a soccer thing, like they're breakdancing and taking photos. I was like, oh, can I, like, oh, that's a cool camera. I was like, oh, you want to shoot it? Are you sure? It's like 2000, 3000, 2005. I was like, when I shot it all night, he was like breakdancing over there. I was like, okay. I lent him my film camera, but like, I think it was kind of an important part to kind of mention that we're lucky to be in Austin and be able to create that. And I guess tell us too how you came back to Austin after taking a few trips out, right?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, you know, so I met my wife Yuki, you know, kind of first year I was in Japan, lived there for a couple more years, and then we kind of we did a bike tour down the length of Japan and ended up in Okinawa and did some random farm work as my visa ran out. So did some paintings too. Painted a big 3-story pink octopus on the side of a building in Okinawa. And then we were kind of like, you know, took the long way back. We did a working holiday in Australia and New Zealand. You can actually get a visa for like $150 until you turn 30 and go like work and holiday in Australia, New Zealand. So I recommend it for anybody that's under 30. Go take a year out. But then coming back, you know, we went to a few places. Yuki had been to LA before. We visited like Austin, Houston, New York, San Francisco, you know, and we're like, where should we replant, you know? And I was like, I mean, I got plenty of friends in Austin still. I can kind of plug back into the creative thing. And she wanted to go to school for nursing, so ACC had a great program for that. So we just kind of, you know, plugged back in. And I'm glad I did because, you know, I kind of hit the ground running, you know, picked up where I left off a few years before. Was landscaping with my buddy Randy, who's a sculptor / gardener, and that was like my first job back. Then I got into teaching again and teaching art and just picking up gigs, you know. And moving in the studio with Luis is something cool. Like that opened up a lot of opportunity to host the Mosaic workshops in time and open up that space to the community to share the thing that we're doing. And we did our first mural in 2018 over there on Holly Commons in Cesar Chavez, one of the Gray Ghosts. And like kind of like it just something set off of me. I was like, man, we got something here. Like this is different for Austin. Like there's a handful of Mosaic muralists, but we had a really unique angle to it. And the response was just so positive. I was like, how do I continue to make these opportunities happen? You know?
Yeah.
So it's just been like a kind of like that survival mode kicks in where, all right, we want to do another Mosaic mural. How do we fund it? All right, we got to go find a grant. All right, how do we write the grant? Yeah. And it's like, you're almost like backtracking. Like you see the goal or you like think of the ambitious goal and then you kind of work your way backwards on how to make it a reality. And it builds resilience and persistence. And it's like, if there's one thing you got to be a successful artist is like a really good work ethic, you know? And I think that's unfortunately what a lot of artists are lacking.
And getting over your paint being burnt.
Yeah. Getting over your ego. It's not about, it's all ephemeral, man. In the streets, it don't last. So I grew up with that mindset anyway. So I think that's why I got into mosaics too. I want something that's really going to be there, for forever, for a long
it's
time.
harder to replace and it sticks around.
Yeah, man.
Do you want to plug a little bit of Something Cool Studios? Because I think for us in our environment, it's been something special, and I think maybe we share that a little bit.
Yeah,
in a way.
I mean, that's family, man. Like Luis, Fabian, Sleepo, Sam, Brad, and occasionally other people that come in and out of the studio. But like I said, Luis not having that the space for us to really do our thing, where we have our own studio, but we also have a shared gallery. We have the backyard, and we have community.
Yeah.
And then I think tapping in and having, when FC was born, right, when Austin FC started and you guys connected, I think it was that first banner painting out in the back when we first met, just holding space for that. Yeah. And that's testimony to Luis's passion for both art and the sport, right? Like I know he's been playing for over a decade, I think. So yeah, I mean, like big props and thanks to that man, because like he's held down that space despite, I'm sure it's an expensive mortgage and the challenges of like running a venue and all the other things when we can just rent a studio and do our thing. But it's everybody contributing to that whole. Like you said, it's not just one artist in a closed box making work. It's like artists doing work in the street and doing large scale murals, collaborating, working together. Throwing mural festivals and throwing big parties to put lots of emerging artists up on the walls. And so like that type of space is exactly why I was able to like start the Mosaic workshop and just every Saturday post up and invite people in to come learn mosaic art. And fast forward 5 years later, now we got our own warehouse down the street. And it's not that I moved out of Something Cool physically, but we're still connected, right? Like we're all still working together. I was just at the show last Thursday, the sign show they got up, which is a dope show. Just go check it out.
Yeah, they should. A lot of art.
It's like really last Thursday of every month.
Yeah, third Thursday is
third
become
Thursday
a thing now. All up and down Cesar Chavez and up east side up to like Canopy and Bohm Studios, and we're at the Mosaic Workshop where I'm at. Like we all kind of stay open late, and a lot of people do openings and everything. So definitely, get out third Thursdays on the east side. It's a good time. Yeah.
It's the last 7. It's pretty cool, man. Yeah. It's. I think whenever you're surrounded by people that want to help each other, and it doesn't feel like a competition, but rather than like, hey, a collaboration or a community. I feel like everybody's gonna get a piece of that pie, and you won't be left out. Now it's up to you to put out a good work, of course. But the fact that like we have that here in Austin, like just in a lot of places, in a lot of ways, it's great. Like I know, like say as photographers too, just we have a group and we usually stick pretty together, and someone needs something or whatnot. Now one thing that like it's been helping is some of the photographers that I've seen their work and Austin FC, or we work next to each other but not together. They reached out like, hey, can we shoot events for Otra? So that's cool. Like that's the whole point that you want. You don't want to just keep things to your own. You want to be able to help the other person out, or if, if they have an idea, like, hey, bring it in. If it works out, let's do something. But and say, for example, now that after everything that you've learned and whatnot, what is something that you can say to someone that's just starting, that wants to get to a level to where you guys are at today, not just in artistically, but also when it comes to like a life experience of the artist?
Mm-hmm. Man, I don't know. Life is like think about like a book. And a book, would you want to read the book of your life? And so you got to do things that are gonna like be interesting and challenging. And like, there's no good book or movie that doesn't have like hardship or struggle or some sadness, or fear. There's apprehension. Like those are feelings to like kind of be embraced. And when you go into the unknown and you step into something beyond your comfort zone, it kind of shows your true colors, right? It brings out the character, and life is so much more rewarding when you kind of like go that extra distance, whether you're running a marathon or making a big mural or cooking a meal for all your friends, that you never made before. Like, it doesn't have to be anything too complex or like crazy, but something that just keeps it fresh and new, and showing up. Like, that's what I tell people a lot of times. It's not necessarily about skill or talent even. It's a lot of luck. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of consistency. Like I always tell people, I don't think I'm the best artist. I really don't. Like, I'm decent. I just have a really good work ethic, like I show up on time, I put in the hours. I try to be resourceful. And I also try to give back. And I think like when you're creating opportunities for others, like you said, it's gonna return, maybe twofold, maybe tenfold. Like, the more opportunities you create, you're gonna be working hard in a more selfless way. And then somebody's going to come through the door and want to buy your piece right off the wall. It's because you created an environment that's conducive to just like welcoming and inclusivity and really just a celebration. Like, positivity is huge, like staying positive through it all. Mm-hmm. I really do believe in like the power of manifestation, and like you can create your own reality. So if you're always like dwelling on the negative or you're complaining or this or that, guess what? You're going to get more of that, But if you kind of like shift your thinking and your mindset and turn it in a direction that's going to be more positive, I think you're gonna see things turn around. So, so I don't know, whatever your passion or talents may be, just practice it. Find other people to do it with. People that inspire you and challenge you, not people that bring you down or want to compete. Because, if you feel that energy, you go the other way, Yeah. Like, you want to put yourself in a situation that's going to, like, grow your potential, increase your skills, and something where you're having fun.
That's why I like to hang out with Rigo, because he always inspires me.
I'm always fun.
Always fun.
I love what you said, too, and, like, I think adding a little bit is, like, maybe find some what you're passionate about and draw for that. Yeah. And from there take off, right? Like the things that'll keep you going and keep your mind positive too.
I will say this too, is like, even to this day, like, I don't do this for the money. Mm-hmm. So it sounds cheesy, but they always tell you, like, find what you love to do, and it won't be about the money. Like, it's really not. Yeah. And it's just you're continuing to, like.
Now the question: have you made a lot of money?
I have not. I'll tell you, when I get it comes up and it goes down. Okay. I can make a little bit, it goes back.
Because I'm like, usually whenever someone who makes money is the guy, it's not about the money. Like, yeah.
I'd say I grew up poor, man. I'm still poor. I constantly reinvest to the craft, and so that's how I really love what I do, is because, like, I would much rather grow the team and support some emerging artists and their practice, and they can be studio assistants or lead workshops or whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna put money in their pockets before I put money in mine. Mm-hmm. And that's just how it is. Like, money is fluid to me, and it's about potential, and so we just keep growing the potential.
Reinvest in it. Keep that wheel going.
You gotta flash your tattoo.
Was it? Oh, a couple of them. Yeah.
No, need less. Give more.
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go. Where am I?
Sheet.
For everyone.
Live simply,
Yeah. No, but Jay, thank you for coming, man. It's a talks I look forward to hearing, especially because of the process that. Well, I did see from the beginning that whenever they started doing the workshop and then up to the finalized product.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah.
Of it?
Let's before we do that. How was the process? How many tiles were involved in the McKalla Station?
So it's kind of got a little trim because the bottom has a tiny little slope. So I need to do like a final count. I'm actually not sure of the exact number, but to be honest. But we had, it was like almost 8 by like 80 feet. So it's like over 600 square feet essentially. Mm-hmm. Each square has like 225 tiles. So if you do the math, like that's over 130,000 tiles. Hands down, it's like twice as big as the biggest one I'd done previous. Probably 100 plus colors of tile. We had over 200 people actually came to something cool.
Each person 200 tiles.
Yeah, pretty much. Some people did more. Some people were like cruising, like, "Yo, give me another one."
I'm like, "Oh, I got this."
Yeah, some of the patterns were a little easier than others. Some more challenging.
Some were getting picky. It's like,
how was
I gotta change that green for this green. And,
how was Rigo in that tile?
Oh, it was really good, really good.
I did one that was mainly black tiles.
You came
perfect.
And then I would throw in a few shiny green ones.
Yeah, as a texture.
Give it some.
But if you see the final piece, like it kind of has that glitchy quality where there's some spots that don't line up perfectly, but like that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like it's meant to take this like very sharp, hard, unflinching medium of glass and make it almost quilt-like, make it like soften it a little bit. And it's got the iridescent all throughout, so it shines. But yeah, I mean, the process is just one. Like I said, collage the photos. I map it out. I do a lot of math and figure out like the distance and how small the pixels need to be and everything. I order a ridiculous amount of tiles.
You collaborated on the photos with Duke, Katie,
Zach, and Nico.
Nico.
And Lene helped to connect us all as well. And portraying everybody in the mural. And then going through like, because it's such a high profile public art piece, we had to go through the whole like protocol of like getting releases signed and making sure that people are cool with their likeness up there, making sure they're like Fatima as a minor, making sure family can sign off on that. And
was that a problem with Georgina? Georgina was like, "Oh yeah, I'm down."
Oh man, it was awesome. Yeah, seeing him at the unveiling. Oh man, and Fatima was already like, already grown, different hair color, like everybody's always changing, but that's part of it. It's a time capsule, right? And it's more the emotions that everyone was portraying in their faces that I was trying to capture, like that optimism, that fierce intensity, the joy, the kind
belief in something, right?
That they like focus when you're in the zone playing your instrument, you're just in that creative flow, like trying to capture all these different emotions, and then those were the images that best conveyed that. So it's really cool to be able to kind of mine the archives of all the best some of the best photographs from like the last few years of the team being around and the supporter groups being there for every second of it. I think it was a kind of a cool like random, because I didn't know anybody at first going into it. But thanks to you to like connecting everybody, but then it's like,
now we're partying on Monday together.
You're in good hands.
Birthday party
with quesadilla and everybody that went to my birthday thing.
Las
Perlas. That's fun. Now, and it's like family. Like for me, this is what the art is all about. It's about making those connections, shared memories, and something that we have for a lifetime. Like you can look back on this in 20 years, and I'll be able to remember some of these moments like it was yesterday. Yeah, because you're out there doing it. So that's my advice to the young people is like get out there, show up, get off your screen. Yeah, like the real world doesn't happen on Instagram. Like go outside, go make something, make
something, and then put it on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're on Instagram, like my photo.
Yeah, you got.
But like get off.
Like and subscribe.
After I get off,
subscribe and then leave. That's cool, and that's cool.
And I think, I think I said a little bit of it on there, but like, even for us, like seeing it and interpreting it, it's like seeing Fatima. Like, and you said she grew up a little more now, but like it's like the youth. Like Gabi was one of the key people in creating, one of the founders. And you have like the representation on the instruments. Some Murga, some like
LV.
Regular supporters, or like even, and they're not regular either because they're part of that family and that community. But maybe some people don't interact too much with, say, someone playing a bombo or a drum because they're on at the 90 minutes, but they get to have a beer with quesadilla and get on the rail with them. And like, there's all these different types of fans in it.
Yeah.
And like I said over there too, like having the CapMetro people in there as like those people that are actually making the dream of us having a public transportation to the stadium and creating those memories of getting on the train and, you know, tapping a song into the train. Try not to flip it over, but like, but it's all about that tradition and those things that we want to build and that we've been aiming for, right? And if it doesn't hit that much for so many people, at least they can easily cross over to the stadium now, right? Like there's a function for everyone. So
one way or another helps.
We used to walk so much around the stadium, and now it's like we can get there, and it's a nice thing and to have now.
Yeah, man. And how can people follow you on social media and reach out to you?
I'm J Muzacz, JMUZACZ. That's on my personal stuff. We got the Mosaic Workshop, ATX Mosaic Workshop on Instagram. Like I said, the book's kind of quiet right now, so just about sold out. Think about second edition, but ATX Urban Art. And definitely like always stay connected to Something Cool Studios too with the homies.
And the ATX Mosaic Workshop.
Definitely. Yeah, come see us at the workshop. Yeah, I'm kind of got some ideas in store for next community mural. It probably won't be quite as big, but it's going to be maybe a little more grassroots one and maybe more free form. But yeah, like we teach classes. We host workshops of all kinds for complete beginner, I'm not an artist type of people, all the way up to like, I want to be a mosaic professional. Like we got something for everybody. And it's just a fun place to be. It's a fun creative space. There's always different projects going on. I'm actually collaborating with Federico Archuleta right now. I'm really excited about this one. It's his first large-scale mosaic. So I won't tell too much, but hopefully we'll get it finished in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's an Austin street art legend.
Yeah.
Federico. Shout out to him.
Yeah, big time. When's this coming out, by the way? If I can plug something this on
we're gonna release it. We'll release it on like this Friday.
Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
So
this tomorrow
Saturday.
or Friday.
Yeah. That's sweet. So this weekend we actually have the Emerge graffiti art show coming back. And then there's also a badass show at Almost Real Things called Touch the Art, where you can touch the art. I got a mosaic or two in there. So always something going on. Like I said, get out there, meet other creatives. Come see us at the workshop. Yeah.
Thank you.
Say
Thank
hi.
you.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Say hi. And last but not least is thanks to everybody that checks out our episodes. For us, the way we want to portray football life culture is through stories similar to Jay's. And also, I mean, you know, anyone that listens to the episodes or checks out on YouTube or Spotify, thank you. It's a blessing. Also, really quick, we're trying to hit a goal before the end of June, and it's to have 500 subscribers in YouTube. At the moment, we have 268, so we had 265 last week, so we've got 3 more. It's one of those that keeps growing slowly but surely. We're gonna hit it for sure. But yeah, man, and also thanks to Austin FC's communication for allowing us to cover and talk to the players, interview the players. Our goal is to pretty much ask them a small hint of how they feel and portray with the fans, and it's good because it's right after the game. So luckily this time they were hyped and they were down to talk. But I've been in other ones where it hasn't been the best. So thank you guys.
You gotta take advantage.
Take advantage. Yeah, you got to capitalize on the opportunities. Anything else, you guys can reach us out at otraporfavor.com, or you can shoot us a DM on Instagram or Twitter, which is OtraXFavor, all the same. And anything else, Rigo?
No, just if you're new, you're Jay's friend, watching him talk here, follow us.
Follow us.
And yeah, I think good talk, man. Thanks for coming
Thanks for having me, man.
and sharing your inspiration for all you do. So it's really cool.
It's always good to reflect, man. Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate it,
thank you. Appreciate it.
brother.
Ahí se cuidan, se portan bien y nos vemos.